Alright, so guys, I'm Skinner, and I have my Dominating Blow build guide. This build guide is going to be for Champion, and later I'm going, as an addendum at the end, go over my Jugg version of this. And I actually played this build 2 months ago in 320, and at that time decided I was going to league start this in 3.21 because I was like, well, there's no way they nerf Dominating Blow. I mean, no one plays it. And it was really enjoyable, and I had a lot of fun. And I actually did it as a jugg. And it had plenty of damage and was super tanky. Now, I'm going to be league starting as a champion. I'm going to go over the merits of both. I did PoB this as both Necro and Guardian and Jugg and Champion. And for the mechanics at play and some very interesting interactions that I'm going to go through, Champion and Jugg were the best for me. This is not a claw and shield Dominating Blow build like you're used to. And it's going to get real spicy. You're going to have to follow me. There's a lot to explain and unpack here. First, I want to talk about Vaal Dominating Blow, and then I'll hop over into PoB. So, with Vaal Domination, we ascend 3 Sentinels. They deal 200% more damage. This means they do triple the damage. We have to operate at this time on the assumption that they have the same attack rate and damage that a normal minion would, and we're just going to multiply it by 3. Those 3 don't count towards our Sentinel limit. So, effectively, we're just gaining the value of 9 additional Sentinels that we can drop just when we hit the map boss, or we drop when we hit Exarch to half health, or whatever it may be, which I'll explain later. So, with Dominating Blow, we have some really cool interactions that we get to do. And it's going to get spicy. So, first I want to talk about my fundamental philosophy of how I wanted to play melee and the problems with melee, and I've made a video about those issues. How this build is going to play in game. Then I'm going to go into the mechanics and interactions and niche case scenarios that we are utilizing or maybe abusing, your choice. And then I'll go into the skills and the tree and so on and so forth. So, speedrun of this explanation. Melee has a fundamental problem, and that is damage uptime is low. Say you're fighting Shaper, maybe you have to dodge 50% of the time. Say you had 6 mil damage, but 50% damage uptime, your actual damage is 3 mil. This is the case for a lot of Bone Shatter builds and stuff. This is why Bone Shatter and other melee skills tend to not be able to do Ubers, right? Known issue. I wanted a melee build where if I was dodging, maybe I was still doing damage. So I explored things like bleed and other things like that, and honestly, they were shit. But I found some cool interactions with Dominating Blow and the fact that I could be dodging, I could have pretty tanky minions, they could tank the hits, still have damage uptime, while I run around, am dodging and leap slamming and frost blinking, using my molten shell, playing the actual game, not dropping totems, not doing a lot of the button presses that I needed to do on my melee builds, but just able to play the game, and everything else is just gonna happen. This build automates fucking everything once you get it set up. And if you're looking in that bottom corner, you're like, hey, that damage is pretty good. That is our damage minus a little bit when a boss drops to half health, and we pop Vaal Haste and Vaal Dominating Blow for our single target setup. But without multi-strike. That's, still pretty good. So, it's 5 mil mapping. 10 mil when the boss drops to half, jumps up to 15 mil if you pop your Vaal Dominating Blow and your Vaal Haste. Really, really fucking good damage. If you have a single target gem setup, it actually goes up to, almost near 20. It's like 18 mil. So let's get into some of the interesting mechanics of this. We are going to use a big two-handed melee weapon as a champion. Why? Why are we doing a minion build as a champion? Okay, we are going Impale, so Master of Metal is pretty good. The +1 Impales do not apply to our minions. We don't care about that. We're operating on the assumption we only have 5 Impales, never 6. But it gives us 1,000 armor and a little bit of Flat Fizz. Flat Fizz is nice. 35 aura effect, because you get the 5 from before, and 30 aura effect on here, makes our haste really good, makes our purity of elements that much better, helps us further overcap above the 83 all res on our minions, so on and so forth. It's just good. Free banner makes that dread banner, which also is benefiting from that increased effect, which gets us to 99% chance to impale with just the impale gem and just dread banner. Pretty sick. We taunt on hit. We war cry all the time. Both taunt all the time. They deal 10% less damage to us, 20% less damage to others. Nice quality of life defense. They're taunted. They cannot evade, which means we don't need accuracy. Our minions don't need accuracy. And they take 20% increased damage. Over here, Natural Authority says that if they're taunted by our Warcry, they take an additional 8% increased damage. That's awesome. When we Warcry with the very cheap Warcry cluster here, they are intimidated, so they take another 10% increased attack damage. Also, we grant Onslaught for 4 seconds to all our allies, which is all our Dominating Blow minions. This is happening all the time, just because we have this reduced cooldown recovery rate here. Rallying Cry, which I'll get into, has a 6-second duration and an 8-second cooldown. We caused that to get down to 5.7 seconds, so we have full uptime of Rallying Cry, which is nice. We have the reason we want to use a big weapon. Now, this is with Ulnatil's Kiss, which is just something you can have really early. You throw in a Murohi Urki, your damage goes up way higher. Let me fucking explain. The biggest interaction we are doing here on this build, why we want to be a big two-handed weapon, not some claw and shield nerd, is Rallying Cry. So, if you have a bunch of minions and like a unique boss nearby, you're going to be at full power. And that's the only time this ever matters. At full power, you get a maximum of 20%. You give 20% of your main hand weapon damage. So the damage roll, not the DPS, not with the attack speed, just that raw hit. Just why Murohi Urki is so good. 20% of that gets added to all of your allies as flat added damage. That buff has 100% more effect on your minions, so it's doubled. We use Divergent Rallying Cry. The quality there at 50 quality, again, so you take a 20/20 Divergent Rallying Cry, we stick it into a replica Void Eye, which grants 30 quality to socketed gems. So this puts it to a 50 quality. That makes it another 100% more buff effect to your minions. So, instead of 20% of your weapon damage, 60% of your weapon damage is added to your minions. But this is a Warcry buff effect. So, quickly, over here, we have some Warcry buff effect, Warcry buff effect, Warcry buff effect. Another 20% Warcry buff effect. We get 41% increased Warcry buff effect, which multiplies with the more buff effect on minions. All in all, this comes out to being that 84% of your main hand weapon damage with a 50 quality Divergent Rallying Cry is at full power, which it's going to be full power if you're against a unique boss, the only time it matters, or if there's just a bunch of enemies on the screen. 84% of your weapon's damage is going to get added as flat added fizz to your minions, which is then going to get scaled by all your increased damage, all the more gem multipliers, and everything else, right? So if you're holding a Marohi Urki, all your minions are holding a Marohi Urki. I'm using just the new buffed Ulnatul's Kiss because it's going to be cheap. It has Vol non-hit, which is another damage multiplier. It's fine. It's accessible. There are rares that are way better. This only has, 385 to, 644 fizz. That's great. You have a decent Marohi Urki. You're talking about 762 to 1142. If you equip that in and you go look at the flat added fizz, it's going 626 to 940 flat added fizz to those minions, right? From just the Rallying Cry, not including, what you're getting from your Carrion Golem, not including what you're getting from Master of Metal, from Impale stacking. The sheer number, this, it's almost 700 to 1,050 flat added fizz to your minions. This is like 25 to 30 T1 Abyss Jewels worth of flat added fizz being added to your minions. Divergent Rallying Cry and a big two-handed weapon is bonkers. And it gives us more and more and more than that. Okay. This is instant. It's always active. It's taunting, as we pointed out over here, which in the champion, which is good. Then also this one Warcry cluster. It is intimidating the enemies, and it's giving onslaught to us. That is awesome. That is amazing. We like that a lot. That's a lot of damage. Okay. So that's one of our mechanics at play on this build. And why we are taking champion. Okay. You can go jug. You'll do about 1/3 of the damage, because then all of a sudden you need accuracy for your minions, because again, this says they cannot evade, which is incredible. It removes your need for accuracy or RT. It removes your minion need for accuracy, etc., etc. It's just fucking, it's so good. All right. Obviously, we use Spiritual Aid so that we hit harder because, hey, the whole point is that we want minion damage because we want to hit things. I'm never casting a minion skill. I'm just going up and hitting shit. I hit them so fucking hard, they want to fight for me, right? That's the idea of this build. Now, I'm going to remove some conditional things here because this damage that you see over here is when they're on low life and we pop Vaal Haste. So we're going to take the low life, which is doubling our damage, right? And take the Vaal Haste off because, again, we would pop that when they hit half health, right? Because we do want to hit them to half, then it would just nuke them down. And that was our single target setup where we'd have Empower. Now, keep in mind, Empower, oh my god, you're looking at like an Empower 4. Empower 4 does less damage than Multi-Strike. I just have it there because it gives some survivability if you're doing Ubers. But this is with Melee Splash. Over here, this is 5 mil mapping DPS. Now, I want to give a big thing that you'll notice right here away. As it says, 14x Dominating Blow, Sentinel of Dominance, default attack, then 14x Dominating Blow, default attack. Just imagine this number of your default attack just wasn't there. Just subtract it every time. That way you're never adding what your damage is. Because the problem is, Dominating Blow, if you want to increase the count of the minions, it increases the count of your attacks as well. So I just mentally remove that entirely. So that 1.4 of that attack, just remove, and so we're just over 5 mil damage, right? There you go. It's 5 mil mapping with melee splash, behead, ruthless, fortify, and impale gem, right? These aren't even the best damage gems. They just give the best quality of life and defensive layers. So, melee splash. Obviously, you need melee splash with dominating blow. Otherwise, you just won't have good dominating blow minion uptime. And it gives better clear for your minions. Impale is the single most highest damage gem possible. And we're a champion, so we're going Impale. That's it. That's all I need to explain. That's all you need to know. Fortify, because we want Fortify. We want to take 28% less damage from hits. We also want our minions to get Fortify, so they're tankier. It's nice. It's defensive layer. Behead. This is in a Diala's Malefaction, by the way. This all socket in a Diala's Malefaction. Some of these are in the green sockets, some are in red sockets. Anyway, Behead we want in a green socket. This is important that Behead is in a green socket. 50 quality Behead, just a regular default Behead, will give us +8 to melee strike range, which also gives to our dominating blow minions because they strike. That 49% more damage on low life, awesome. We use punishment and vuln. Both are automated. I'll get into it. But anyways, it also, steals modifiers, which is cool. But really, this is just so that we have better coverage when we make our attack, that we hit more monsters and more splash, and same with our minions. It just gives us incredible overlapping clear. It's amazing. Behead is top tier. One of the single most important gem, other than melee splash, is Ruthless. Ruthless does more damage than melee fizz. Ruthless, every third attack is a Ruthless blow, with a base stun duration of 0.8 seconds. Anomalous Ruthless, no one uses this gem. It's free. Okay? Don't go all buy it before I can buy it, please. I don't want this suddenly to be expensive. Alright? But anyways, this just increases the stun duration on enemies. It has a base stun duration of 0.8. You put this in a green socket. You GCP it. It has 50 quality. All of a sudden, it's a 1.2 second stun on every third attack with a big reach, with big increased AoE, melee splash. Everything is always stunned all the time. It's wonderful. Between Fortify on the overlapping splashes and Ruthless, anything that isn't just immediately dead is basically always stunned. It actually feels really good. The fact that your minions just going around stunning everything. It's awesome. Now, obviously, we want Phantasmal Dominating Blow. Now, you're probably saying, well, but don't we want Vaal Dominating Blow? Okay. If you didn't have Phantasmal Dominating Blow, you would have a max of 19 normal Sentinels. 9 normal Sentinels, not 19, instead of 14. So, let's say you did only have a non-Phantasmal, but you had Vaal Dominating Blow, and you pop the Vaal Dominating Blow on the boss monster. Well, that's effectively 9 more, and you would go up to 18. Anyway, Phantasmal Dominating Blow is great. You'll be at 14 all the time. It's nice. Here's where the fun shit is. I'm going to be getting 2020 Phantasmal Dominating Blows. I recommend you getting 2020 Phantasmal Dominating Blows. Just get any Phantasmal Dominating Blow, GCP it, level it in your offhand. Then double corrupt it. When you corrupt, there's a 1 in 4 chance it can go Vaal. Okay? When you double corrupt, obviously that rolls twice. You also roll the chance that you could upgrade it to a 21. Yes, you can have Phantasmal, Vaal, Dominating Blow. The Phantasmal will not apply to the Vaal portion of the skill, but you'll still have the Vaal portion of the skill. And this way, you could get the, incredible high number of divines expensive 2120 Vaal Phantasmal Dominating Blow. Here, I'm assuming we just had a 2020, right? Phantasmal, okay? With a 14 count, which is fine. Again, if you had the Vaal Phantasmal, this would go up by effectively 9 more minions worth of damage, because again, you get 3 more dudes that do triple damage. It's 9 more. Yeah, it's really good because they don't count towards your summon limit, so you go back to your normal limit right away. Okay, so that is explained. Dominating Blow link is explained. Speedrun of the other skills, real fucking fast. We have a summon Carrion Golem with Feeding Frenzy, Maim, Life Depth. This automates our Feeding Frenzy. This automates Maim, which causes, again, enemies to take 10% increased phys damage. Awesome. Another source of, enemies taking more damage is good. We Life Depth it so that it doesn't cost mana when we cast the Carrion Golem because they're expensive. For our auras, Purity of Elements is really important because we run out quite a few uniques, so it helps us out, but more importantly, it gets our minions to overcap. You'll notice here in our calcs that our Dominating Blow minions have 83 all res and an additional 11 overcap. Awesome. How are they at 83 all res? Well, right over here, we take the Minion Defense Mastery for +8 all maximum res. Okay, next. Summon Skitterbots. There's a Chill Bot and a Shock Bot. The Shock Bot gives us more damage. Shock is more damage. Shock is great. Shock is one of the Skitterbots is actually one of the highest damage multiplier auras you can put on. The Chill is cool, but this is a softcore build, brother. We don't need the Chill. We use a Profane Proxy. We put it in ring 1, which is the left ring, which replaces the Chill aura with a Socketed Curse. Over here, this is where we put Punishment. Punishment is amazing. Punishment, by the way, level 2020 Punishment, does more damage over the course of killing a boss than a level 2020 Vulnerability would. Punishment is actually better than Vul. Also, it has this amazing benefit. Cursed enemies are debilitated for 2 seconds when they hit. Debilitated. Now you'll see why. 1, they were maimed. You'll see now why they were taunted, because everything we do taunts. And they're debilitated. Debilitated means they deal 10% less damage. Again, so they deal 10% less damage. We're fortified. We take 10% reduced damage from Conqueror. We have 20% less damage taken on hits from Fortify. We get some decent armor and, some of the other things. We're even though it's super softcore, we actually have some nice kind of defensive layers and everything is getting stunned, but we're just going to run around and dodge it, okay? All right, anyway, back to auras. There's just so much to explain here. And each time I get to one thing, I need to explain multiple other things. That way I don't have to backtrack too much. Does that make sense? Herald of Purity gives us a little more damage, gives us a few more minions. It's just nice to have some more dudes, because more dudes is more Warcry power, because they're always going to be by us. And Warcry power is more minion damage. Okay. Vaal haste. We want our dudes to be fast and juicy and stuff. We put haste on very early. We put this on in Act 3. We're just never going to take it off. Okay. Alright, at least the haste part. Pop Vaal haste. Yes, I know my POB, I didn't put some decks on gear. You can easily put decks on gear. Okay. We have the standard, in the helmet, Spectre, and Animate Guardian setup. Alright, with Meat Shield and Minion Life. We have just 2 Spectres. They are Carnage Chieftains. They're Frenzy Spectres. Why? so that we can have minions use frenzy charges. It is a good chunk of damage. It's 600k damage when they're on full life. It's 1.2 million damage against a boss when they hit low life. Yeah, it's a huge bonus. Animate Guardian. This is the ultra budget Animate Guardian on my build. I have it in the config here. This is just a Dying Breath and a Leer cast. And this is what that does. Okay? Ultra budget. With a Calm's chest and a Calm's roots and southbound gloves. It's just never to die. That's its whole point. Okay? It just a nice buff to damage. Okay. Anyway, you can put a higher budget one in. This is my league start. Already went over how Rallying Cry works. Already went over why Punishment is so good. In our weapon, we have a bunch of whole utility stuff. So we put these three things. We want life tapped because these are outplayability things. These are how we are going to dodge mechanics when we're playing the game, right? Leap Slam, Frost Blink, Molten Shell. We never want to accidentally have no mana and not be able to dodge the Shaper Slam. Right? Shouldn't have to explain that. The other things that we have in our weapon, and there's 6 sockets in the weapon, right? We just have a Flesh Offering. So, after we kill it back and we're like, oh, might as well Flesh Offering sometimes. It doesn't really do that much damage. It's okay. But it makes your dudes a little faster and attack faster. It's nice to pop. And then we have our Dread Banner and just another one of the sockets in our weapon. Now, we use Divergent Dread Banner. Divergent Dread Banner makes it at 20 quality. Instead of 20% chance to impale, it's 25% chance to impale. That is then multiplied by our aura effect. This is why we have a 99% chance to impale. And this is coming just from our aura effect being a champion and Dread Banner and the Impale gem. That's it. You don't need anything else. I tested damage on Vaal Summon Skeletons and it is nuts. But I'm going to remove that from the PoB. And then, yes, we have vulnerability, automated on hit because of Unlatol's Kiss. And yes, we just anoint Whispers of Doom for an additional curse. Alright. So that is a lot of the mechanics at play. How do you play the build? Right? So like I said, you're gonna see, a pack. You're gonna press your Granite Flask and your Basalt Flask and your Molten Shell as you leap Sam up to the pack. And then you're gonna hit them with Dominating Blow, and you're gonna immediately Frostblink to the opposite side of the pack. And maybe hit that side of the pack. And then you're gonna run away. And your minions are gonna kill everything, and you're just gonna dodge. Okay, and you're gonna find the next pack and you're gonna hit them and Frostblink. Right? You're gonna play melee. You're not gonna be super tanky. This is a softcore build. You're only a little over 4k life. But your damage is really good. Okay? Again, if you want to see how much damage it really does, if you get them to half health against Shaper. Because again, this is configured against, Guardian Pinnacle bosses. Set them to low life. You can average the damage between the two, but pop your Vaal Haste. Increase your count by 9. It's kind of nuts. Click Empower or Multi-Strike if you want to see your single target damage, because you would pop out Melee Splash if you're going to go into a Pinnacle boss fight, right? I mean, you're not going to leave Melee Splash in when you're not mapping, right? Okay. Items. I went over some of these already. We're using a Dial's Malefaction, right? It gives a ton of quality of life in gem quality and in gem levels, which gives us a lot of damage. Now, one thing you might have noticed was that I was using a 50 quality Phantasmal Dominating Blow because 5 additional Sentinels does more damage than increasing the gem level. Okay? I will not explain that further. That's all you need to know. The green sockets are really good, but you should probably have a couple reds in there. If you have a Vaal dominating blow, not a Phantasmal, put it in a red socket. If you have Phantasmal, put it in a green socket. Okay? That's it. A lot of other things you want quality, and a lot of them are better in green. Okay. All melee builds that are Impale use Ceaseless Feast gloves. You get Endurance Charge Generation and Frenzy Charge Generation on hit. This is sick. That's not why we use them. We use them because they inflict Corrosion on hit. Corrosion is this other thing. But these corrosion stacks, they last for 4 seconds. If you inflict another stack, it refreshes the duration of all of them. This removes all their armor. We're going to be hitting the bosses. This ramps up very quickly, and you can see that when we go from like 1 stack up to like 5, your damage goes up because you start overwhelming all of their stuff. You go above 5, you've already removed all their armor. It doesn't do anything. But you're going to keep hitting them because you're playing the game. Very often in a longer boss fight, you might have like 20 or 50 or more stacks. If you don't have much damage, they're never going to survive that long against this build. Okay. Moving on. Ceaseless Feast, very good. We just want some life, some move speed, some resistances on our rares. That's it. We just want to not die. We want some type of +1 all health gem. Amulet. God, words, dude. This was just what I had on my build when I played it. It was super cheap. Okay, get a better one than this. That's all I have to say. Profane Proxy is why we get our automatic curse. It's super cheap. Day 1, 2C, really good. Replica Void Eye, also day 1 or day 2, 2C. This is what makes Rallying Cry fucking nuts. Darkness Enthroned, because it's a minion build. You get some nice Ghastly Eye jewels. These are the jewels I just happened to have on my build. They had life. Minions still increase damage if you used a minion skill recently. We're attacking, so we do. Some Minion Leech is nice to have here. Saves us some mastery of needing to put Minion Leech in. Some attributes, life. Again, minions deal damage if you use the minion skill recently. It's good. We also have a Basalt and a Granite. And a Corrupting Blood Immunity Removable Flask. This is just what I had on my character when I played it. Use what you like. Writhing Jars are important if you are doing pinnacle bosses. You run up to the pinnacle boss, your Carrion Golem, and your other shit, like, start fighting the boss. Then you pop the worms, and you hit them. And boom, you get a bunch of Sentinels. And they run forward. And then you pop the flask, and you hit them again. Boom, a bunch of Sentinels run forward. And then you run forward, and you start hitting the boss. Okay? You start the fight right away with max dudes. It's just simple, dude. Okay? Now, you probably saw this Timeless Jewel over here, and I like, oh my god, is he ignoring this Timeless Jewel? Is this insane? No, it's just an Elegant Hubris, and you don't even need it. You can remove this. Your damage is still really good. It's still 4 mil. It just puts you up to just over 5 mil. Putting this in. Otherwise, I mean, while you're leveling, you're not going to have it, and you don't really want it because you get some life and another endurance charge. Up here, we do have an endurance charge, so, having 5 endurance charges is nice. It helps you get to higher levels being tanky. Anyway, This is just a 2 Slumlord jewel. Okay. This was the actual seed I had on my build when I played this in 320. What was this number? I got this for 50C. There are a ton of minion jewels with 2 Slumlords in this spot. There are a ton of them. If you don't know how to do timeless jewel searching, learn. This one actually is a triple one. And in my actual build I played, I anointed that one. And I did more damage. So, there you go. Yeah, no, this isn't an expensive thing. This is just fine. All right. So, how do we level this build real quick? Well, like this. We start off, we make a Templar. We run it through the mudflats to level 4. We mule back Smite and zombies and summon Holy Relic, and we are going to smite everything. We also bring back if we can, a Ruthless and a Summon Phantasm. This way, if you have a triple red smite, you can use, Smite, Ancestral Call, like Chance to Bleed or Ruthless, right? Or if you have red, red, blue, you do Smite, Ancestral Call, Summon Phantasm. Smite and rushing towards this aura cluster, right, lets you have more aura effect, just more smite buff, which is damage to all of those minions. And I did Act 5 Kitava with no Onslaught. I tested this week because I wanted to test the nerfs of not having Onslaught in 3 hours. So it's not like insanely fast, but that was just using Smite with this tree. You don't pick up these buff effect nodes until you actually have Rallying Cry. And same with the Call to Arms, but as soon as you do, you just automate your Rallying Cry, and then you come pick these up. Your big two-handed weapon is going to be adding its fizz to your minions and your smite that you're doing to your minions. Yep. Okay. You come up here, you get your sovereignty wheel, making your smite even better. You get your first ascendancy, making your smite even better. At this point, you have 57% increased aura effect. That's a lot better haste. That's a lot better smite. It's really good for party play. This is what I'm going to be doing. It's what I just speed ran test. It's good. It's fine. You don't need any fucking damage nodes. After I pick up sovereignty, only then do I go grab spiritual aid. You can do this in another order if you play solo. All right. And at this time, I had to grab the Mana Mastery. But later on, like when you hit end game, and you have like a mana jewel, and then you get your reservation efficiency haste or reservation efficiency purity of elements, small cluster, it frees up having more auras, okay, and having some extra mana. Anyway, you fill out this tree over here. It's really important that you come over here at the end game when you are in maps to get the minion resistances and so that they don't die. And I would not run an Anime Guardian until you have Grave Intentions and the +8 all res. Otherwise, the tree order is pretty obvious. And yeah. So, quick recap. We have frenzy charges and endurance charges provided by our gloves automatically from just hitting shit. Our minions have frenzy charge because we have this frenzy ape, alright? We and our minions have onslaught because we're always war crying automatically just by moving around. Right? We are fortified because we use the fortified gem and we're hitting stuff, and so are our minions fortified. We have 21 nearby allies. You can do the math. Right? Yeah, this is just the check that I had Silver Colony, make my chaos rest not look so shit with the random trash gear that I was equipped with. Yes, we've used a minion skill recently because we're having attacked recently, and we're working on, we're taunting, blah blah blah. All these check marks, they all check out. The enemy is maimed automatically because our carrion golem exists. They're taunted by fucking everything we do. They're debilitated automatically by our punishment aura. They are shocked automatically because of our skitterbots. They're intimidated because we war cried. Okay? All of that stuff is basically unconditional. Then, if they're tanky, that's when these stacks ramp up. If they're not tanky, they're dead immediately, so it doesn't matter. We don't care. This is against Guardian and Pinnacle. When they drop to low life, our damage doubles. Okay. We come over here. If we want it, if we're going into, because we know we're bossing, so we're going against like Exarch or something, you can put in multi-strike. It does more damage than a level 4 empower. But for the sake of this, I'm just hitting the empower button because that's what I had in my PoE. Right? And that damage is pretty good when they're on low life and we have our single target set up. Right? Then let's say you pop your Vaal haste. Let's say you pop your Vaal dominating blows, and you have your huge dudes, which is effectively 9 more dudes, and then you hit your worm flask, and you get the 3 to replace them, and you throw those back in. That would be the same as if you had 23. Now, remove your 23 dominating blow default attacks from this number of 6 mil. Just completely delete it. Okay? That's nonsense. It's just the only way to increase the count of our boys. Okay? You're looking at 25 mil. So you can spike this build up to 25 mil against Shaper or Exarch below half, which is awesome. But really, you map with 5 mil, okay? You map with 5 mil, the boss drops in half, it goes to 10 mil. That's the real damage. I'm not advertising it like it's fucking running around doing fucking 25 mil all the time or something. Right? It is not. If you think it is, you're insane. Okay. Here we go. This PoB will be in there. Now, I said I would mention Jugg. Whew. Okay. Jugg does 1/3 the damage. The tree is very similar, but you'll notice one thing right away. Effective hit pool, 215,000. Yes. You have to run RT because you don't have the chance to evade. You run Determination instead of Haste. Instead of Diala's Malefaction, you just use a chest piece with a bunch of life and resistances. You look for life, resistances, and chaos res. You're looking for life and chaos res and armor, right? You want a +1 that has some chaos res, right? Why do we want all this chaos res? Well, because you're going to run Divine Flesh. Divine Flesh splits your elemental damage in half, and half goes to chaos. This makes the hit that's going towards your armor, again, towards your unbreakable Jugg passive, or 8% of your armor applies to elemental hits, more effective, because of the way armor calculation works. The smaller the hit, the more effective the armor. And with the new Armor ES Mastery, the Armor ES Mastery, 10% of armor also applies to chaos damage taken from hits. So that half that went to elemental hit, mitigated by armor. The half that went to chaos, mitigated by even more armor. Okay? By those powers combined, you are incredibly tanky. But you are going to be mapping with 2 mil DPS. When a boss goes to half, they go to 3 mil DPS. If you pop Vaal Haste, because we don't run actual Haste aura, but you pop Vaal Haste and Vaal Dominating Blow, you can go up to 4, maybe 5 mil DPS. Okay, on that is actually with the Moreau hierarchy. So, yep, I'll have both of these there. Otherwise, the builds are the same mechanics at play. It's just if you want to be an unkillable Demon King, you go Jugg. Keep in mind that you can't run double Curse. So you wouldn't use an Ulnatil's Kiss. You'd have to use Moreau hierarchy, or the biggest rare you can afford. You anoint Grave Pact for more accuracy, and you have to take minions that have plus 250 accuracy. Accuracy is not something you have to worry about on champion. So, all right. That's the differences. Because otherwise, it's just the other build. But armor stacking Divine Flesh Jugg version. So, oh, big thing. I almost forgot. Yeah, there's no impale on Jugg because you can't fit Dread Banner. So you don't fit the impale gem either. Yep. All right. Happy hunting. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna be league starting this.